the science and secrets of diet and smart supplements for longevity. And to take the session, we are honored to have Dr. Alok Chopra, ladies and gentlemen, here with us. And along with the gentlemen, I would like to request Dr. Arjun Dang to please join us well to do the discussion.
Hi, very good afternoon to everybody. And firstly, it's a pleasure and a privilege to be here. A round of applause for the lovely crowd and the engaging sessions that we've just had. Actually, when I first heard about this two-day long event, I was super excited because all we have heard and also seen on various media channels is online, where these kind of events happen about aging and about the novel breakthroughs in this science. And today it's a pleasure and a privilege. Before I start, I'm Dr. Arjun Dang. I'm the CEO of Dr. Dang's Lab. That's a lab in Delhi, NCR. With me, I have a stalwart in the field, a person who we've always looked up to whenever we get stuck in any kind of medical issue, a person who I've personally learned a lot from, and also of the same ethos that we don't stop playing because we age. We age because we stop playing. So what are those things that we have to play with and play correctly that Dr. Chopra is going to enlighten us about? So I had a long list of questions, but then when I started reading them, I was like, if I ask these many questions, when will Sir speak? So I have kept them to a bare minimum, and I'm just going to start with my first one. So sir, recently aging was not even considered a science. Whenever someone actually used to speak about it, people used to be like, okay, this guy is off limits. This is not something that we recognize. But now suddenly there are so many startups, so much scientific data, publications, how to measure aging, how to arrest it, how to reverse it and slow it down. So please give us the basics and enlighten us about what exactly is aging and why do we age. Thank you.
Okay. Before I start, I wanted to know that how many of you really believe that this can happen? Hands up. Oh, wow. And how many think that, okay, we will do it, but do you have the courage or the energy to really change? You're all for it. Very good. Okay. So I want you guys to write your epitaph. And why? Does it surprise you? Why do I want you to write your epitaph? Is because you've all signed up to live till 100. And what are those 2 lines or those 3 lines that will dictate your next 30 years? So it's a good one. Think about it. I once asked this question to a group of people some long time back, and I just remembered a very naughty joke which Osho told us. And he said that there was a guy, his name was, it reminded me from Epitaph. There was a guy, his name was Unbelievable. Stupid name, but he couldn't help it. He tried very hard to remove this name, but he couldn't do it. So ultimately he got sick, he was dying. So he tells his wife that please write something nice on my epitaph so that in my next life, God doesn't give me this stupid name again. So she wrote on the epitaph that here lies a wonderful man, a very loyal husband, who has never slept with any other woman except his wife. So everybody came and said, this is unbelievable. So anyway. So, question is about aging. Now, aging is actually real because, there are 2 aspects of aging. One is chronological age, which is your health span, and one is your the biological aging, which is in your hands, and that comes with epigenetics. Now, you all heard of this word epigenetics over and over again. Let me really explain what epigenetics is. One is genetics. That means your genes. Epigenetics is something which you have to do, which is in your hands. It's like saying that the genes load your gun and the epigenetics pulls the trigger. So we are all, exposed to so many things. All these exposures that we have, I have named it in a way, not me, it's been there, it's called the exposome. And how much the exposome is attracted or troubled by our lifestyle is called the epigenome. These are words, I just want you to keep them because that's what it is. So the epigenome actually is inherited. It's not the genes which are inheriting. The epigenome is inherited, and that is what epigenetics means. That means how I live my life, what are the exposures that I have, what are my mental attitudes, what I eat is what is possible, and that is what epigenetics is. That means it is in your hand. It's not in your genes. Yes, the genes are there, and that's how you came around. So I'll give you an example. Let's say, how it was found was that there were some mice, and there was a particular gene in these two mice, and they removed one ingredient from the mouse, and the one who had it became brown and strong, and the other who didn't have it became yellow and small. Which means that even a simple change did all that. Another example I'll give you, which will make you understand epigenetics better. Let's say your life is like a movie, and your DNA is your script. Now, if the same script is given by the movie is given by either Steven Spielberg or the other guys, so obviously they're going to be very different. If the different directors are using the same script. So what is aging? Aging is really a gradual deterioration of our biological and physiological integrity. And ultimately what happens is that the cell keeps dividing and dividing. And as it keeps on dividing, it becomes smaller. It doesn't die, but it cannot function anymore. That's one of the things. So epigenetics is also one very important part of it. Now, very often we say that is disease real or is it a disease? So I feel that it's a disease because, aging is happening in everybody. But we are working it out with like a disease because of our lifestyle and the way we look at life. So in able to do this, we have both strategy and tactics. And the problem is that we combine strategy and tactics thinking they're the same. They're not. But with the right strategy, tactics may fail, but tactics may become interwoven in our daily lives. And strategy is the hard part. Once that is done, then everything takes over. So what are the deterioration that we can see in these three different categories? One is the cognitive decline. One is the decline of function in our physical body. And the third is our emotional health. And if we can avoid all these categories by addressing the cognitive decline and the loss of our physical body and our emotional health all together, then we are quite on the line to live much, much longer. And this other thing I'm saying is that the lifespan and health span, although they are different, but they are very intertwined. And unless we put them all together, the things will not really happen properly. So what are tactics? Tactics are exercise, tactics are nutrition, sleep, emotional health, drugs and supplements. And all this have to be used properly so that we can get the maximum benefit from all this thing. So, I've been really very involved in aging for a long time. But we have to analyze the hallmarks of aging. What are hallmarks? There are certain situations in our body, about 14 of them. And these hallmarks, here they are, and they're a little more scientific. But what happens is these are all present in our body. And what we have done is to see how each one of them is working. So I'm going to talk about one of them because I can't, it's too long for the other thing, is mitochondria. Does anybody know what mitochondria is? Okay. So mitochondria are little pencil-shaped batteries. A billion can fit on a pinhead. And they take some oxygen from the air and calories from food, and they make ATP. ATP is the energy which runs our body. So mitochondria are, they control everything in our lives. They cause, break up all the bad bacteria. They look for all the energy things. And we are analyzing things like mitochondria and other hallmarks, and that way we can make out which is important and which is not, and that's how we can make new supplements from this thing. Okay, now anybody knows what this is, NAD, nicotinamide dinucleotide? Yeah, everybody. Nobody knows? Now this is present, it's a coenzyme which is actually present in our body. And without it, we wouldn't be alive. And all our mechanisms of health are based on the fact that we have NAD. But the supply of NAD is, finite, and the body has to produce NAD continuously to prevent the degeneration. And because as we age, the body produces less and less NAD, and ultimately it reduces the capacity of the cell. So the cell keeps on dividing, but the cell is not dead, but it cannot act. So these are some methods that we can increase our NAD levels. You can all read them. Eating healthy, increasing good fats, lowering the carbs, mild to moderate exercise, caloric restriction, staying out, or, using the sun, and even these methods that we use for sauna, hot tubs, heated pools, all of them, the heat actually is very important. When we use more heat, we get much better. Sirtuins. Sirtuins are a group of genes which play a very important role in the prevention, and they act together with the NADs so that we can work out our ultimate aim. Has anybody taken intravenous NAD? Yeah? It's not recommended really, because it goes into the system very quickly, and this high rise of the NAD can be very risky. So all of you who are trying to think that do it, I don't agree that we should be doing an intravenous NAD at all. Telomeres. Anybody knows what telomeres are? So telomeres are, our DNA replicates. There's a little, they look like this actually. They look like little, like the tips on the end of our chromosome, and right in the end you can see that little aglet, where you see when it's a shoelace and you add it so that the thing doesn't fray. So that is what the telomeres are doing. So telomeres, are also multiplying many times, and the more they multiply, the less they become, and in the end, they all end up. And there is an enzyme called telomerase, which actually helps to keep them up. Okay, this is how we define a healthy body: a coherent brain, exceptional memory processing, optimal immune system, strong muscles, steady bones, well-functioning organ system.
So we hear so much about aging, how to reverse it, and these basics are really nice. But out of the long list of things that you advise, what exactly would you consider as being the single biggest cause of rapid aging? And how can it be controlled to bring it down?
See, the main thing is inflammation. Everything here is inflammation, because inflammation can be all the time. Like we all know inflammation, like you have a sore throat or you have a wound here, and that is inflamed. But the inflammation which actually comes from your, from diabetes or some other heart disease is very different. It's a silent inflammation which you cannot fathom for the first time, but ultimately it really can overrun you and kill you by the end. And we all do not realize when the inflammation is picking up. So we have to look at the root cause of the illness. Where is it coming from? We are looking downstream, when we actually look upstream to see what is being created below that. The way it will present, and you may not realize that you are seeing these things, and ultimately you may end up in a big disease. Just look at the number of things. Can you all see that? Sorry. So, like headaches, joint pains, anxiety, bloating, migraines, palpitations, itching, headache, rashes, irritable bowel, all that, and everybody thinks that this is a disease. This is not the disease. We are actually treating the symptom. And we have to find out what was the illness or what are the reasons why these symptoms are coming up. And all our systems, if you can see, are independently involved. The brain, the digestive system, the detoxification, the endocrine system, the musculoskeletal system, immune system, and when sometimes all of them are involved, we call it polyinflammation. That means somebody can have more than one inflammation. And it is actually the inflammation is your biggest enemy. It's not something with it. The inflammation is the important part. We have to get rid of it somehow. So these are the list of things that you can see. This is the reasons why inflammation happens. You can see dietary sugars, refined flours, trans fats, refined oils, margarine, shortenings, artificial sweeteners, dairy in any form, allergens, sensitivities, intolerance, low-grade smoldering infections, gut microbiome imbalances, toxins, heavy metals, chronic stress, sedentary lifestyles, nutritional deficiencies, all processed, packaged, pesticides, preserved foods, and even transported foods. IMF, all this Wi-Fi, cell phones, computers. So you can see, it's such a wide array of things, and all of us are subjected to it at some level or the other. So the idea of this is that please be aware of all the ways that inflammation can happen, because that is the starting point of disease, and when disease comes, aging will come automatically. So this is about lifestyle and nutrition.
Thank you, sir. So, going forward, we all know that genes control about 20 to 30% of our lifespan and our longevity. But apart from that, it's just lifestyle and environment and our habits and what we do on a daily basis. And like what Mark Twain once said, age is an issue of mind over matter. If you don't mind, it doesn't really matter. So could you tell us a little bit more about lifestyle, nutrition, what we can do on a daily basis, and how to again reverse aging?
You see, the first 2 points that we have written here are our ancestral past and our body clock. Now, what does that mean? Now, if we can honor our ancestral past and we can superimpose our body clock on it, we will be in a very good shape. So how do we do that? Now, the ancestral past, there is a DNA, and our DNA is about 20,000 years old, and with it comes the property of storing fat and reduce fat burning. Now, you can't change that. You can stand on your head anywhere, it's not going to change. So, if we can understand that every time we eat, certain amount of food is stored as fat. So, what do? Eat less often. That is the one thing. So you cannot change this property. And this property will be present in your DNA and all our DNAs. How does it run? Everybody knows about insulin now? So insulin is responsible for this change, that the body stores fat and reduces fat burning. And now that we have been told, the big pharma people tell us that you must eat more often, keep on eating every 3 hours and 4 hours. The body is causing the sugar to rise and the insulin is bringing it down. So if we eat 6-7 times a day, then we are getting at least 6-7 times of messages to our body to store fat. So the idea of this timed fasting came from here, that we cannot change that insulin level, but the mechanism. So if we eat less often, we will store less fat. So how many of you are doing timed fasting here? Everybody. Is anybody doing once a day fasting? Nope. Okay, once in a while it's good. I believe that eating once a day is very good, but a lot of us can't do that. And one of the downsides that can be is that you suffer from nutritional density, that you can't eat enough. So when you can't eat enough, then again, everything impacts. Everything comes back onto the longevity part. This is the diet that we should be having in a nutshell, okay? Rich in good fats, moderate in proteins, low in carbs, no packaged processed foods, multicolored veggies, fiber, reduced meats, more with fish and chicken, fermented foods, nuts and seeds, less or no dairy. Now, there's always a big problem of dairy. Who is still having dairy? Dairy is in some level, some form of poison. And I don't believe that we should be taking dairy. It was never meant for us. But we can compensate for dairy by, say, having sometimes say a hung curd or a Greek yogurt or hard cheese. But again, take that into mind that this should not be overdone on any sorts. Then you have these fermented foods are very good for us. How many of you eat fermented foods? And why do we eat them? Because fermented foods and fiber are the preferred food for our gut microbiome. And because if you look, but I always say that wake up in the morning and bow down to the gut bacteria before you talk to God. Anyway, because that's what it works. So all of you must have fiber and you have enough fermented foods, and that will be make your gut bugs happier. Now, anybody heard about the blue zones? Okay, so the blue zones were discovered by a particular scientist, and he found that there are certain places in the world which are different food habits, different cultures, different religions, different nutritional preferences, but all of them are living beyond 100 years. And it was first found in Okinawa and later found in other places like Ikaria in Greece, in Sardinia, Loma Linda in California. And in each time, they all do a similar job, but they're still different. So they all wake up with a sense of purpose, which is called enjoyment and reason of living. Ikigai, which is a sense of purpose, motivated, resilience, the challenges that you have to survive to master, And it's your choice which is thrust on you. It involves a full commitment of working life like that. Moai means a group of lifelong friendship, support system, providing social, financial, and health spiritual benefits with mentoring and generativity becoming an essential component. They walk often, they do their manual work themselves, they don't depend on anybody else. It's all self-service. They all live together, they eat together, they sit and express their faith together. They go and do some stress-busting activity, all as a matter of necessity. Hara Hachibu is another way that when they eat only 70 to 80% of their hunger, and 80% of them are vegetarian, but they do eat some fish. Anybody who doesn't like eating fish? So this is very interesting. A Harvard study removed the social outreach, intimacy, connectivity, and they found that all the chronic illnesses came back again. So these are some longevity supplements. I'm not going to talk so much about it because this requires a very long thing, and these are the things which are already in use, and most of the people are using them. The thing that I wanted to talk about is this, but this is one by one. I have listed this. I'll be happy to talk about it later in the other hall, which is maybe empty. These are supplements, are not supplements really. They are found inside our foods and in our bodies. And if we can use them, we don't need these fancy supplements. I mean, intrinsically, I'm not so fond of supplements because supplements will really work when your bodies are de-inflamed, where your life is changing. Otherwise, the supplements are just going to last and you're going to waste a lot of money.